Another story we do in the Pan-African Film Festival is this. So much of our story, people say, I'm tired of slave stories. We ain't had before slave stories. I mean,
But I
yeah,
have to interject.
let me,
yeah, go ahead.
okay, now,
That's the big thing. If you would say that.
now, and what there's really saying, in my opinion, is the films that have been made have not been enough to tell them why it's important to them. The filmmakers failed. Because every story is supposed to say, stop you and give you something and transport and takes you back and say, okay, I learned something from that. And if you didn't learn something, they didn't do a good job. If you didn't feel something. Now, here's a slave story that we haven't heard about. There's a place called Cebu in Burkina Faso, up near Ouagadougou, a tributary from the Niger River. And you go up there, and we went up there, this Burkina Faso and Nigeria is one of the centers of the African film business. And the largest film festival in the world is there.
Oh, wow.
We went up to Cebu to see the sacred crocodiles. The sacred crocodiles are up there. I was wondering if I had a thing here. Let's see if I have one. Nope, I hope I have. I thought I had sacred crocodile, but anyway, the sacred crocodile is, why they're sacred, is that these crocodiles have not been killed for 400 years. On the real level. They die naturally. And you can go up there and talk to them, sit on the backs of them. My son sat on the backs of one, feed them some chicken, hang out with them, they walk around. Crocodile.
And you see my face is made looking.
I'm sorry,
for
I wish
us,
I had,
it's
I was
like,
looking for my
crocodile.
Yeah,
I'm a
crocodile.
I'm
Because
running.
you've seen this,
Yeah,
you've seen all that.
Yeah,
And,
you
you know, the Western movies and
my
show
family's
them.
from New Orleans, so I hear the
Right,
bayou,
all
all
the
that.
bayou, all that, you know.
So
And
man,
we said, and here's the story. We went up there and saw this, and my son used to always make a lot of money in the school because nobody believed here's a picture of him sitting on a crocodile. And nobody believes that now. Then they see the film is real. The story is this. As the slave traders moved into West Africa, and we began to flee from Ghana and Nigeria up into the Sahara Desert trying to get away. We got to the River Niger. It's bigger and wider than Mississippi. Couldn't get across. And we asked the crocodile, the sister brother crocodile, if we could walk on their backs to get on the way from the slave trade, because this was a major disaster in our lives. Crocodiles had a meeting to discuss it. They made the decision, so you can walk on our backs, but you got to do two things. One, you got to sacrifice your firstborn forever. And two, you got to agree not to ever kill us again in life. We have not killed those crocodiles in that area and in certain areas in Ghana for 400 years. And when they die naturally, if you're there, and I was going to show you one of the crocodile bags, you die naturally, you get a skin, it brings you good luck and so forth and so on. I have a big loose crocodile briefcase. And it is awesome. So when I got to go downtown to IBM, the General Motors, people caught up with Gucci, Coach, and all of that other stuff, I bring my crocodile bag and sit it on the table. They put Coach away, they put Gucci away, they put all that away. Because that's the real thing, handmade. And now the crocodile is so expensive, it's probably worth about $5,000 now. But that ancient spirit, because it is opens the door, and that's a story that needs to be told. And we wouldn't have known that story if we without the story, knowing that. And one other little part of that story is this: I first went to Africa, and I was with a sister that was taking me around And before I get to that, so the other things is, there's a myth that Africans sold us into slavery, right? Y'all don't hear that, right? They sold us into slavery. You know, the dogs. They didn't. A lot of us feel uncomfortable about
You
that.
said the myth is that Africans
Yeah.
sold Africans.
Africans did not sell Africans into slavery.
Wow. Okay.
We didn't heard that, right? So
I
but we
heard
didn't seen that. We didn't seen it in books. We didn't seen
Yeah.
it that they did not.
That's what let's just say history class teaches us
Right.
how we're just as bad as
Right, and they
white
use
folks.
that. We just as bad.
Man.
Our chiefs sold us and all
This is a
that.
myth. This is good. This is good.
There was no such thing as African at that time. There was no such thing as black at that time. There was no such thing as African American at that time. We were nationalities in different nations. It's like saying that the Ukrainians sold the Crimeans and the Russians that they fighting brothers. If you tell a Ukrainian and a Russian today that you fighting each other brothers, they think you're crazy, because their whole world is white. So they have a national consciousness. When you tell the French and the Germans and the English when they was fighting each other and they were not, you said we fighting your brother, they didn't see that as brother. This is two different peoples. So we did not have a racial consciousness to know that we were selling other black folk. We at war. You're Zulu. I'm a Swahili man. We get into war. So I win. You work for me. I sell you work for people. Then that's part of that. Then you ultimately get free. Now, if you go and talk to some black folks from the continent, you'll see they don't have the same racial conscience that you have. Because they have never been, there's no white folks. There's 1.5 billion black people in Africa. I bet you it's less than 100, I bet you there's less than 5 million white folks in Africa. You go to Lagos, I told you 50 million, maybe 10,000 white folks. So there's no sense of that. So even you have Africans, so yeah, but there was no consciousness. There was different ethnic groups and so forth and so on. And white folks deliberately put that in our minds, and we're in the 20th century, so we say the African soldiers. Nobody's called themselves African, nobody was calling themselves black or any of that. They were Zulu, so forth and so on. Now,
so just to clarify,
yeah.
they did sell, but it wasn't under that context that
right,
people
it was,
try to say, like I'm
war,
selling you,
exactly.
You're a prisoner of war, you're a prisoner.
That's exactly.
You can have this prisoner.
Right, exactly.
We gonna do the same thing too,
right.
or not?
And
or
yeah,
they assume,
and
whatever
they just
you do.
worked. No, what they worked for us
Yeah.
and so forth and so on.
They can work for
and
you
then
now.
right, and then the other thing is this: when they did sell people to the white man, what were they selling them for? The white man will tell you they were selling them for trinkets and rum and all that. No. If you go over the history, and that's why films are so important to show this kind of story. You go over the history, they were selling them for guns, which is like air-to-surface missile, which is like, that was advanced technology. The white man was ahead of his technology, so you said, okay, you want some of our war captors, we'll take for these guns and for the gunpowder. It was technology. So people don't really understand.
Yeah.
So that's another story.
Yeah.
But if you don't
And that's
change
told in the
it-
film that was it past film or is it this year?
No, it was past films and still has not
Yeah.
gotten clear, because we got to have more and more filmmakers understand
To really,
these things. You know that these things
these
are
are the stories that can be told.
yeah,
if we tell
that
them.
have not been told.
Yeah.
And if you tell them in a way that gives you something to walk away with,
Yeah.
then yeah, it's but that's story. Now, one last story. Part of that is that what you learn in terms of this diversity. First time I went to Africa in 1970, and I saw myself as fairly conscious. I'd gotten conscious in 63, 70, and so the sisters take me around Tanzania, and we got together, and it came time for us to make love. And this has not been made into a film or a book, and somebody must do this. And so I'm in Africa. I'm in Dar es Salaam, in the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is like, you've been to the Caribbean? Anybody been to the Caribbean here? Well, Tanzania, Kenya, Somalia, South Africa is like the Caribbean, except you got lions, you got elephants, you got all that at the same time. So you in paradise. This is where human beings first began the whole thing. So we're on the beach, and we are starting to make love. And at the height of her orgasm, she began to speak Swahili and moan. At the height of my orgasm, I said, "Baby," you know. And we'd been talking in English the whole time, but when she went to her sacred, spiritual, private spot, Swahili came out. I went to my sacred, private spot, and we're on the beach in Africa, 8,000 miles from CNN, and the white man came out of my mouth. I could hear it. And so, you know, Imamu Baraka, the playwright, has a poem in one of his books says, "I used to see you stand on the corner of 125th Street with a sign on your chest and your hand over your mouth said, 'The white man speaks out of my mouth.'" When they took our language, when they took our clothes, all these things was a reason because you think through your language. So therefore, we locked into their thing. You know, like the either or concept and all these things. In Africa, there's no such thing as either or. If you raised in the African language, you know, if you've been around in African brother, they mix up he and she all the time.